Welcome to the Socially Unfiltered podcast,
where we'll be taking you along for our deep dives and doom scrolls through social media, entrepreneurship, and pop culture.
We're your hosts, Lex and Veronica, and together we're looking at everything through an unfiltered lens on the things that shape our everyday lives and society.
So grab a drink and get ready to explore the uncharted territories of online trends, share candid conversations, and uncover the stories behind the headlines.
This is the Socially Unfiltered podcast.
We are trying so many new things
for real. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. In for a treat today. So we're trying a new platform. We think it's going to help the podcast. So we're very excited about that. And we have lots of new exciting things also in the works to tell you about today.
Yes.
And we're very excited. And then we're going to dive into a spicy take on social media management, because what else would we do if we didn't have a spicy take on something? So I'm excited for that.
I can't wait. And we told you guys we were going to watch that documentary that we talked about in the last episode, Into the Deep. And
yes, and we did in fact watch that. So if you haven't watched it, skip past this part.
And honestly, it wasn't that great.
I mean, the more I watched it, the more into it I got. And then finding out that there are other documentaries made about the other side of things, I think kind of like filled the hole of things that I think we're missing from this one. But I did, so I told you I was like Redditing at the same time that I was watching this, because I have to know like every detail. Apparently this documentary has been done and ready to like publish for like 4 years now, like since 2020. And because of the girl that they had to deep fake, they couldn't release it unless they deep faked her. So like this original documentary just had the girl in it, but then because she ended up being like such a key part of the trial, they had to go back and deep fake her out and then could release it.
Which is so crazy, because when you think they could just like put a blob over her face or something, and like instead of having to deep fake her.
Yeah. So I saw somebody say this on Reddit, because so I went back and watched like the beginning before I could tell that it was a deep fake. I mean, obviously you had told me, but like when you first see her face like looks blurry.
Yes.
Like you're like, why? Like, is there water on the screen? Like, why? What's with their lens? Like, why does it look like that? So she looks blurry. And somebody on Reddit said if they had just blurred her face out, they wouldn't have been able to show all of the emotion that you could see in her face. And like, obviously it's deep faked, so we're seeing a deep fake face. But when she's like crying, like if her face is just blurred, like you wouldn't be able to see that. So they said it was just a way of like keeping it personal and still showing her emotion rather than just like completely blurring her out.
That makes sense.
Out of respect, I have not tried to find like what she actually looks like, but I did see somebody on Reddit say she looks like a completely different person. Like it's not even remotely
which is funny.
I
was like, this deep fake kind of looks like it could just be. I'm like, it looks very similar to what I feel she looks like, because it only looked like it was just kind of like blurring over her face. So I was like, I don't know. Yeah, the documentary I think like focused a lot, and like you said, it's like a gossip sesh of like everyone else and what their thoughts are, but I feel like it didn't cover too much about like who the woman Kim was, like what ended up actually happening that day, and like the events that occurred maybe like inside. But do we actually know like what exactly, like has he ever said what actually happened? Because I know he was like lying about a lot of different things when it first was happening, right? Like he was like, oh, never let him know your next move type of deal.
Yes. So because I had the same question, because I was like, why then? Why her? Like, what was it about that day? Because then they started saying like, oh, it was meant for Sarah. And I'm like, well, did they know it was meant for Sarah? Like, I thought I missed something somewhere. But what I gathered from Reddit is that there's two reasons why people think he did it that day, and it's still not something that's like been confirmed. But one of the like main theories is that less than 2 weeks later, he was about to launch himself into space on his homemade
Mhm.
rocket. Everybody thinks he wanted to, like, bucket list item kill somebody before he did that in case going into space killed him. So that's, like, one main theory that people are like, "Oh, he just saw the opportunity and
Crazy.
took it."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I believe that.
yeah, the other one is that he said was in the process of her interviewing him in the submarine, she started to trigger something in him just, like, with the questions that she was asking, and it just, like, flipped a switch. But if you the first thing that the Emma girl, like, the director says when he emailed her back for the first time was him saying, "I'm writing to you from Nautilus, like, I feel so safe down here, like, this is my happy place, blah, blah, blah." So just knowing that that's the first thing that he said to her about it, it's like it's just weird because it wasn't the first time he was out on it. So it's like not like, oh, the initial voyage on this submarine, I'm going to christen it by killing
Mhm.
somebody. But then somebody else on Reddit said it could just have been like a complete sociopath move that we just will never understand because we don't operate like that. But if you think about it, if he were to have gotten away with that and he were the only person that knew that he did that, he could go back and watch this documentary that was being filmed about him and be like, we shot this scene right after I did it. Like, we shot this scene right before I
Mhm.
did it. Like, this was the 24 hours after. Like, just some, like, a weird, like, souvenir almost to him that, like, he knew he could, in the back of his mind, know what happened that day, but nobody else would. So, I mean, I think there's like a million different reasons why he did it, but I think it was just really cool in the sense that we were watching the documentary to see the warning signs about him leading up to it, not so much like the story with her, the Kim girl, which is that other documentary called Undercurrent, which apparently is all about her. So I'm probably going to dive into that just like out of respect. Like I feel like it was very centered around him, but I also understand that was kind of
Yeah.
the point. So it's hard to be upset about it, but I still really liked it just because it's out of the norm.
Yeah, like, at the s you don't
Sorry, I know that was so much. I've been dying to talk to you
well,
about
yeah,
it.
you don't really see that often, and it's, like, not great that that's what the circumstance of the documentary turned into, like, that's awful, and it's so awful for the
Mhm.
family to have to, like, see that there is this entire documentary out now about this person that brutally killed, murdered their, like, daughter, their girlfriend, sister, whatever.
Mhm.
Like, it's awful, but I and that's why I, like, wish that they touched more on, like, who she was and, like, just more about her to honor her, so I'm
Mhm.
glad that there is, like, other documentaries out about that to be able to do that for her and get her
Mhm.
story out there. But I did see, like, in the documentary what he
Mhm.
was texting with Sarah, how she was like, "Oh, like, what did she say? Threaten me?
Threaten
Yeah,
me.
threaten me so I can get this work
Mhm.
done faster," and he literally explained
Mhm.
exactly what he did to Kim, what in the submarine, so it's kinda like they were like, it wasn't about, a certain person, like, it wasn't just, "Oh, it was meant for
Mhm.
Sarah," or "It was meant for whoever," like, Kim just reached out to him that day
Mhm.
to interview him, so I think it was whoever he could get on that submarine first, which is really awful, and that could have been
Mhm.
Sarah, and like, she's probably living with that, and the guilt or whatever, like,
Mhm.
comes up from that, knowing that that could have been you is so scary, but they're like, yeah, whoever was kinda like the
Mhm.
first one was going to be the victim because he had the
'Cause it's
opportunity.
also weird that they had right, they had that conversation and then he did it that night, so it's like, did that conversation, like, jumpstart something in his brain?
Mhm.
'Cause I also said to you, I'm like, I feel like maybe he wouldn't have done that to Sarah, because what if that was somebody like, some psychopaths still have feelings for, like, people or animals, like, there can be a mass murderer who, like, loves dogs, you know what I mean? Like, I
Like the ones
feel
that have
like
wives and didn't do it to their wives, but did it
yes.
to like Ted Bundy and
She was the
yeah.
exception
But he
exactly.
had a
So I
wife.
also think of that, I'm like, maybe
He had a wife at the
yeah.
time too.
But yeah, that was Into the Deep. I think it was good, like, I think it's worth watching, but I do, um, definitely think just, like, out of respect and also, like, hearing both sides, maybe we look into something about Kim, but I also
Mhm.
think too, like, I don't really even think the people making the original documentary knew anything about her either. Like,
No.
they might not have had anything about her to put in the documentary because that might have been, like, so random and
Mhm.
last minute
Well, right,
that
because it's not like they
it
were
even
working with
happened,
her.
so
Like, she just came out of the blue that one
right.
day to interview him. Like, it's not like she was on the. Because
Mhm.
when I was first originally thinking, like, to watch this, I thought it was somebody that was, like, around for the entire process. Like, I thought it was that Emma girl kind of
Right.
where, like, she was around for it all, but it was different than
Mhm.
that, so they did it
Yeah, it
enough.
was definitely different than what I thought, but it was just cool because you, like, watch the people around it, like, you watch his business partner go from, like, there's no way, that's not the person I
Yeah,
know," to 2 months later being like, "I just clearly didn't know this man at all for the last
yeah.
10 years." Like, it's just insane to see the people around him start to, like, turn on him
Mhm.
almost. And something way more exciting that's happening very soon,
Yee, yee,
V will
yee.
be here very soon. I'm, like, trying to think from the time this comes out, it'll be
Yeah.
that week, so
I'm
we'll be here
back,
so soon.
bitches, back in
You're
Charleston.
back in the 8
Yeah, I
3.
will be there
Very
this
excited.
Saturday. Right now, it's 2 weeks from there,
Yes.
but when you guys are hearing this, I will be heading to Lex in, like, 5 days, 4 days. I'm so excited.
Mhm.
We're gonna be recording some
Yes.
episodes, we're gonna be wrapping up some exciting things. Do we hint at it because it's coming out?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure, let's,
Yeah,
like, you know,
we've been
let's
having a couple things up our sleeves. We've been working.
we've been
We've been
working.
when I'm working, the only thing that we have some merch coming soon. We are so
Yeah.
excited. So many. I
We can
I know. I
match,
hate
you
when people say, like,
guys.
so many people have been asking, but, like, we actually have had so many
They have.
conversations. Like, every time we wear the sweatshirts, like, my friends are constantly, like,
Mhm.
texting me, like, Bella just texted me the other day. She's like, "When can I get a Socially Unfiltered sweatshirt?" And then I posted, like, the little poll of, like, "How do we feel about merch?" And a
Mhm.
ton of people voted that they need a sweatshirt, like, yesterday. So, we're playing around with that. We're
Yes.
finalizing everything for that.
I wanna say maybe by the next episode you hear, possibly the one
Yeah.
after that, but definitely coming soon. It'll be the next thing that
Yeah.
we
Prioritizing
finalize
that.
everything on. Mhm. Yes, we will finish that because we're excited for you to have them
Mhm. I
too.
know.
And then we are also wrapping up we'll just, like, kind of talk a little bit about it now, but it'll kinda lead us into Socially Updated.
Yes.
So obviously Instagram went out last week, and that
Well, 2 weeks ago
was
when you hear this. I
scary.
mean, who knows? It might go
Oh,
out
yeah,
again,
true.
so who knows?
It might be
Yeah,
out right now. I don't
literally.
know. I haven't opened Instagram in, like, an hour. Who knows what's going on there? Um, but something else that we are working to bring to life is a way for us to stay connected that is outside of Instagram. Just in the case that Instagram goes down and, you don't know who to ask, we want to be able
Yep.
to help you through those trying times. So we have something coming for that, but do you want to jump into Socially Updated and talk more about the Instagram outage cuz that was like a snow day for us, but
Yes.
it was also very
Yeah,
scary.
it's
So
so scary, but how often this happens, and you said it perfectly, like, we don't own these apps that we're on. Like, they can decide to shut down for the day. They can decide that your account is
Mhm.
banned or, like, removed or whatever. So it's like, if you don't have something, and like you said this too, every time Instagram goes out, you're like, I always think about a texting platform or like email, right? Like, thumbs up. Here we are. Oh, double. We love
Oh,
that.
wow. We cannot escape these
No.
reactions.
You guys aren't
They're
watching this.
everywhere.
These little pop-ups just keep, like, popping up for us always. Um, it's fine. It means we're doing a
We,
good
like,
job.
kind of feel like it's our spirit guides being like, "Period,
Yeah,
queen."
like, pop
Like,
up.
love that idea.
Um, but yeah, if you are only on, like, Instagram, TikTok, and you have no other source of, like, communicating with your audience or your customers, clients, whatever, like, that is dangerous because something like this could happen and you could have no way to get in contact with the people that follow you. Like, if your account was removed
Mhm.
tomorrow, how would you find the people that keep up with you? Or, like, how would you find people that you keep up with? So, it's important to I mean, I think just quick tips like saving all of your content that you post in your phone so you have it in case anything happens, like your account gets deleted, you could just upload those videos again. Um,
Mhm.
Having all of your contacts and emails and client stuff all organized. So just in case things like this happen, but this is exactly why we started talking about a texting platform to
Mhm.
be able to give you guys like real time updates about things, but also not even just like with an Instagram outage or whatever, but like any updates that are happening, whether it's with the podcast or it's like on social media or something we see, maybe like pop culture that we like don't want to wait to talk about in the next episode. We can
Mhm.
just text it and keep everybody like updated, or you guys can like do your research on something and then we'll talk about it the following week, but just something fun like a group chat where we all just like chat and vibe, and it's not like we're going to blow you up, but we're just working on, well, we actually already got our number, our toll-free number.
Yes, we have a phone
We have a
number.
number. We have a bank
We have
account
a phone
together, we
number.
share a phone number. The next step is moving in together.
Yeah, we're gonna buy a house together,
Probably.
preferably the one next door to me
Honestly.
that's for sale.
Yes, we gotta get our bread up so I can move there. Thank you.
Uh, no, literally. But yeah, I mean, and everything you just said, obviously perfect. Like you just need to be planning for possibly one day you wake up and your Instagram is gone. And
Mhm.
I know a lot of people will say stuff like this, like, oh, you need to build your email list because that's where people are going to buy from you. And like, we don't say any of this. Like, that's not our intention here.
No.
Like, our intention isn't being like, build this so you have people to sell to if you ever lose your Instagram. Like, it's just true. Like, I think about it, like, if my Instagram were to just be deactivated right now, like, there are hundreds of people that I would never just organically come across
No.
again. And like, that's so sad to me, just like
Yeah.
thinking I'll never see or connect with those people again. So, um,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, our main priority with this obviously is just keeping us connected to everybody. God forbid, in case something were to
Yeah.
happen with Instagram or whatever. But yeah, definitely not like the main focus of like trying to sell things
No.
is not why we're emphasizing how important this is. Just exactly like we said, Instagram could be gone tomorrow. And unfortunately, they don't really have to give you a reason why. But even if you aren't like consistently sending emails out or anything, just having the list built is very helpful.
Mhm.
So, highly recommend looking into something like that so that you feel a little bit better when Instagram goes out
Yeah.
because Instagram's going to do anything, it's going to not work.
Exactly. And
So,
a good way to do it too, like if you have a freebie that you could sell, not sell, like if you have a
mhm,
freebie to give out, and collect people's emails that way, just so you have it just in case of something like this and you can, get on a texting or a MailChimp type of platform to be able to
mhm,
connect with people when things like this do happen. So it's just our way to like keep connected and make sure that you're being updated, because so many people like text us or DM us and they're like, "What is happening with
mhm.
Instagram?" Like, "I can't access
Yeah.
my account. Can you? Like, what's going on?" And maybe don't resource to Google right away because like sometimes they don't even know what's going on. So yeah, it's
Mhm,
just a way for us to like keep everything updated or like let you know about episodes coming and just let you know what's going on with us
mhm.
too, what we're working on, instead of like having to wait until a Monday episode to hear certain things. You
Yes.
can kind of like be the first to hear things if you're interested in that and care.
Yes, and we'll obviously, like, next week or the week after, whenever we do finalize everything with this, we'll obviously, like, tell you because 'cause we're gonna have, you know, different lists for different things. You know, if you don't want just podcast updates, you can join the other one. If you only want podcast updates, you can join that one.
Yeah.
So, there will be lots of options with that, but we'll obviously keep you updated with everything as
Mhm.
we finalize them, but I'm so excited for that. Like, how fun is it gonna
I
be when we
know.
can be like, "Text
I
us."
know.
Like, you guys are gonna be able to text us back
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, very excited for it.
I know. I can't wait. Still have our social media management blueprint. It's always in our show notes. It's in the link in our bio. You
Mhm,
know the drill. If you're wanting to get into social media management, and if you haven't listened to the blueprint episode, definitely listen to that. It's
mhm.
a 25-day blueprint that guides you through the entire process of everything you need to become a social media manager without the bullshit, because y'all know us.
We don't do
You can
bullshit.
just always
We don't
download
do
that.
fluff.
That's always available.
Mhm. Yep, she's right down there.
And then
And with that, we can dive into some more socially updated
Mhm.
things. Do you wanna circle back to Quiet on Set?
Yeah. Yeah, Quiet on Set is we've talked about this before. I think we talked about it on the Nickelodeon episode, like the dark side of Nickelodeon.
Mhm.
So that's coming out on the 17th this month and with a ton of different Nickelodeon stars, basically about the dark side of Nickelodeon, like what we
Yeah,
talked about, which is crazy timing.
good for us.
I know.
Yeah.
Weird timing.
I'm obviously joking. We were not the first people
No.
to talk about this, but
Yeah.
it was just funny because I think literally we started seeing, like, the previews for this, like, a few
Right
weeks after
after.
we did that episode,
Mhm.
so, yeah. It's been a rabbit hole, but I had no idea until yesterday that, like, Drake Bell is in it.
Yeah, I saw
Like,
that.
I knew they were gonna have the Zoe 101 girl, the Alexa girl, but
Mhm.
I had no idea that I didn't even know Drake Bell was, like, allowed to do things like
I
that
know,
anymore. Like,
especially
I thought he was in
considering,
trouble.
like okay, so the whole thing is Brian Peck was the dialogue director on, like, a ton of Nickelodeon shows, and there was a child that he got sentenced 16 months, which is not enough time, but for, like, sexual I mean, there was, like, tons of charges. There wasn't just one charge. Also trigger warning just in case we're gonna be talking about, SA and,
Yes.
you know, those
Mhm.
types of things, so trigger warning just in case. But he got sentenced to 16 months and nobody knew who like the anonymous child on set was, and it's Drake Bell. So apparently he like always had Drake at his house for sleepovers and different it's like crazy that these parents are allowing that of their children. And then all of a sudden Drake has his own show, Drake and Josh. And now he's
Mhm.
down and I think going to be sharing the entire story, but it's just sad because obviously Drake Bell was like wanted and got in so much trouble. Like we just talked about this on the if you haven't listened, the dark side of Nickelodeon, we like covered a lot of this stuff about Nickelodeon. But he was
Mhm.
charged, right, with like talking to a minor and like I don't know if he ever was with her, but I know they were like exchanging things, right?
He was, like, inappropriate texting with, like, a 14-year-old, but I don't know if it ever went beyond that.
I don't think
But it's
yeah,
just, like, so I mean, this is, like, trauma, this is therapist shit that, like, obviously we should not necessarily be breaking down, but, like,
yeah,
is it not crazy that, like, almost every single kid from a Dan Schneider show either ended up down this same path or, like, even with Drake Bell, like, repeating
this
the learned behaviors and the patterns, like, I don't necessarily think it was exactly the
yeah.
same,
It's just
and
sad.
he claimed he didn't know how old she was, but
The cycle continues and
so
it's
sad.
really fucking sad, but I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to the documentary or is it documentary? Is that what they're calling like
Yeah, it's technically a
yeah.
docuseries, I think it's called, because it has 4 parts.
Mhm.
Let's transition into our main topic, which is gonna be taking another spicy look at social media management. This is part 3, I believe, if we're technically,
Spicy.
like, counting the only 3 parts, but I feel like all of our episodes are a spicy
I know.
take. So we did something a little bit different this week. So instead of the DMs unfiltered, we're actually going to be reading your guys' spicy takes on social media. So we'll start with ours and then we will finish up with
Mhm.
yours. And diving right in, I hope this goes without saying. I personally think that business owners only see 20% of what social media managers do, either for them or for their own content
Yep.
or just in their jobs in general. There's 80% of things that we do that people don't see,
Agree.
that we might not even realize.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, like and this goes to show, I mean, even if you were sitting in an office, I still like, with your client, I still don't think they would see everything that goes into your job from, like, the initial, like, content creation stage to the editing stage to the actual posting stage to the engagement afterwards and, like, the analytical tracking and making sure that you're, maintaining your entire strategy, like, there's so much that goes into everyone's job, and I mean, I don't know that we know anyone's full 100% of what they do in their role, but it's so true, like,
Mhm,
I feel like people just think we take a photo and we think it's cute, and then we make a little caption, and we post it, and we're done for the day, and I wish that
mhm.
that's what it was really like.
And it's like I do that, but 7 times in a
Yeah.
row. And then also it took 3 hours of prep to get to that point.
Mhm.
Like, there's so much that goes into it that I think people just aren't seeing the full side of it
Yeah.
'cause and it just doesn't help when there are social media managers making content that's like, "I scroll my phone and get paid $10,000 a month."
Mhm.
Like, you make it seem like we do nothing.
Yes.
You are the one putting it in these business owners that it takes 30 minutes to make a
Schedule
post. Like,
content.
stop doing
Oh,
that.
just go to this
Yes.
AI tool, and they're gonna edit all of your content for you, and they're gonna spit out all of these
Mhm.
images for you, like, all of the stock images, and that'll bring us to, like, one of
Yeah.
the things that somebody said too,
Mhm.
but the stock videos, and we talked about this on the last episode too, just, like, random stock videos of pouring a coffee and putting, like, a caption that's like, read the caption," and I think that definitely is like, "Oh, it's so easy to just gain a thousands and thousands of followers just by doing that," and there's 0,
Mhm.
like, relatability or care for why I'm even following this account. I don't even know who it is. But
Right, exactly. Yeah, because there's, like, this weird wave of, like, faceless accounts
yes.
because everybody's like, "Oh, everybody can make content, you don't even have to show your face."
Mhm.
And it's like, but that's literally, like, one of the most important parts.
Mhm.
Not necessarily you showing your face, but
Yeah. If you're not gonna show
I
your
think
face,
there
and there needs to be some aspect of you where you can be unique and creative and for people to get to know
Mhm,
you. Like, we always bring up Bree because she just does Socially Bree. She was one of our guests and one of our friends, but, like, she doesn't really show her face that much, but she is an amazing writer, and that her
mhm.
personality and, like, her tone of voice is expressed in her writing. So if you're more of a writer, you can totally leverage that part of it. But as a business owner with, like, maybe product-based, even service-based businesses, it is a little bit difficult to not have a face first brand. Like,
Mhm.
it's tough unless you can really hone in on that brand voice and making it something that can make you successful. It's just I haven't really seen a lot of
Which is
business
not
owners do that.
impossible. Yeah, it's just I think the more difficult route
Mhm.
to take on something like that. Percent agree, but yeah, that also, like, half came from a DM that we got that said, like, a hot their hot take is that stock images drive them insane,
Mhm.
and same. I literally hate stock images, I hate stock videos, I hate literally nothing bothers me more than when people use Pinterest
Oh my
videos or,
god.
like, Pinterest
I
pictures,
know.
like, it drives me nuts. 1, because the quality is so bad, like, I can tell in one tiny little zoom in if a picture is from Pinterest because of how grainy it
Yeah,
is. I
maybe you
hate
could make a
stock photos.
cute mood board, but it's that doesn't really show much for your work if you're only using other people's content. Like, it's
Mhm.
like the same as, creating a different feed for businesses, which I have done content like that of, like, rebranding a business's page, but that's not all that should
Yeah.
speak to, like, your work. Like, it's one of the things that you're really good at is making something really aesthetic
Mhm.
and beautiful, and that's amazing, but why are you doing that is the most important part. Like, why do you
Mhm.
put those things there? What is that gonna do for the brand? Like, what is your stock image video going to do besides look pretty? Nothing. Like, it's just pretty to look at, you know? So
Mhm.
please don't use stock
Yep.
image videos. Because then it's so
I
funny.
hate them.
Because sometimes you'll see them post, like, the real life video and, like, maybe it's because their house isn't, like, aesthetic enough or, like, people's
Right.
places aren't what they want it to look like, so they use the stock pictures and images or, videos for it to be like, "Oh, this is what I want my
Mhm.
house or, like, my space to look like," which I get that because it
Mhm.
sucks when the aesthetic is, like, all white and naturals and neutrals and just, like, beautiful, and I get that, but I would rather see, like, you actually being authentic in your real space versus the
Yes.
stock.
And I also think too, like, my main issue with stock videos and pictures comes from when people use them as their actual
Yeah.
content. Like, if you're using a stock picture as, like, the background on your
Oh,
story
yeah, that's
slide,
fine.
like, that doesn't really bother
Yeah.
me. It's more so
Yes.
when people are posting it as content.
Yes.
Because like, I just see so many people
I
doing it, and it
know.
stresses me out, but I can't, like, get stuck on it. But it's also funny too, because like, I love coming across people that have used the same picture. I'm like "So is that your house or
I
her
know.
house? Like,
I know.
whose picture is
And
this?"
you can tell
But
it's the same, and I'm like,
yeah.
"We don't need 2 of the same
You
brand."
know what's cool? What I do think is, like, cool though, and definitely an alternative is, like, if you go on, like, either Etsy or Creative Market, you can look for stock photo packs, and what that is, like, people who literally take, like, 20 to 30, like, photos that all match, like, they're all in the same place, they have the same computer on the desk, like, if you're just in a place where you need to supply content and again, you don't have, like, the surroundings or the environment to make that happen. Like, I think something like that is fine to get you started if you're looking at, but again, like pulling random ones from Pinterest is just going to make you look like all over the place. But
Mhm.
buying one of the packs where they all match, I think is an alternative for sure. But I also think one of your first investments should be a branded photo shoot where you are taking your own
Yeah.
stock photos with your own branded
Mhm.
computer and phone and whatever. Um, and again, that's just spending money on a shoot, but I think it should be one of the first things you invest in so that you can stop relying on other people's content.
Agree.
For sure.
Yep. Influencer fatigue.
Yeah. So I saw another video talk about this. This is not like my term that I came up with or anything,
Mhm.
but I think everybody's just, well, I don't know if I think everybody's starting to. I think I want everybody to start like being fatigued of being influenced and more so people just create content and they post it. And whether you feel called to purchase something or do something because of them, then so be it. But
Mhm.
I think in the future, we're going to start to see people really over the whole like the one that comes to my head is the BK Beauty makeup brush, and every video starts with it going, "This brush isn't a brush and this brush isn't a beauty blender. It's the BK Beauty brush." Like every
I haven't seen
single video
that.
and I just oh my god, I see it like every day. Like all day, every day. It's so the BK Beauty blender brush, like it's the same thing. And I've been over it for a while just because I'm so sick of seeing people sell out for products.
Yeah.
But I think because especially TikTok is going like so shop heavy
Oh, yeah.
that people are just like, I want to stop being screamed at like by people telling me it's the best product they've ever tried in their entire
Mhm.
life.
Yeah, there's so much TikTok shop happening now, and I'm seeing it with Benny because I'm using it now a little bit more, and
Mhm.
it's like an amazing opportunity for creators because you can get all these different things sent to you that you actually like free stuff sent to you, and there's no real, like, guidelines to what you have to
Mhm.
say in the video or what you have to do, like, even if I'm just like, if I got this on TikTok Shop, for example, my sweatshirt, like, I could just be wearing it in a video, not even talking about it. Like the video could have nothing to do with it. And I could just link the sweatshirt onto the video. And if people want it, then they just like obviously buy it on TikTok Shop and you make a commission. But that's the nice part about TikTok Shop is you don't have to like talk about the product unless I think it is like a brand deal and they're like, "Oh, you have to post our TikTok Shop thing and there's guidelines." Like I think that there's a difference and you
Mhm.
can notice the difference in that. Like I'm noticing the ones that are just getting, like, the free product and are posting about it because they actually like it and they're not, like, really saying much about it, they're just using it and then linking it. They're not like, "You can shop this on my TikTok shop, and I'm gonna link it right here." Like, it's just linked and it's there, and if you want it, it's not aggressive. But I think we are
Mhm.
all aware and smart enough now to know what is an ad, what's not an ad, what's making commission, what's not making commission, and I'm all about, like, being in your
Mhm.
bag, like, if you actually like the product, like,
Same.
amazing, or if it's, like, benefiting you in some way or it's entertaining, whatever, and I'm, like, totally fine with people linking stuff. I think it's just when these, like, bigger influencers that don't even use these products, like we talked about Tarte, and then they're linking the product and
Mhm.
talking about it, and it's just like, obviously, you're getting paid, and, like, that's how it works, but
Right.
the less organic it is and natural, the more people get turned off and get that fatigue, I think, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think we're all
Like, I'm just sick of being screamed
I know.
at,
Like,
being
you
told that it was the best
need
thing
this
that
in your life. Like, nobody
like, no, you
needs
don't.
that. No one
No.
needs any
No.
product.
So, I don't know, who knows? That'll never stop though,
No.
so I'm just sick of hearing it. I just needed to bitch.
Just us
I needed
just
to
us
yap about
yapping
it.
about it. That's all. I like this next one, that not every public figure needs to use their social media to talk about world issues. So true.
Do you agree with that? I felt, like, very spicy putting that on here,
I
but,
very
like
much agree with that, and it's just
yeah.
crazy that, like, even us as normal people, which, like, public figures also are normal human beings and, like, just trying to get by, but all the world issues that are happening, like, you expect these people to jump right on it and talk about something that they don't have any knowledge on or have any research or feel comfortable to speak on. Like, I don't think it's really that they don't want to help or that they don't want to contribute to the conversation and, like, open it up, but I think it's just such a weird line to teeter of, like, I don't even know what's going on, and, like, I could do my
Right.
research, but there's so much information out there. It is
I've
very
tried and I still
yes,
don't
it's so
understand.
overwhelming. It's scary also to put out
Yeah.
statements like this because regardless, people are gonna be upset. You say something, people are upset. You don't say something, people are upset. Like, I just think you don't win in this situation, and there's a
Mhm.
time and place, I think, for what issues you speak on, but I totally agree. I don't think like, they're not political figures. They're not signed up to be, like, world leaders. Like, they're here f
Mhm.
to entertain you and to fucking create content and
Yeah.
do TikTok shop. Like, they're not here to talk about world issues, and I just think it's if you follow them for them to speak on world issues, unfollow them because that's not what you're gonna get out of these public
Mhm.
figures. That's my opinion.
Yeah. 'Cause I think it goes the other way too. I think you do have every right to talk about whatever you want
Right.
on your platform, but you better mean that
Yeah.
because you're gonna find the people that agree with you and you're gonna find the people that disagree with you.
Right.
But I think you have to, like, kind of think of it.
Mm,
Do you think your favorite TikToker is really spending their downtime learning about political figures and terms and learning what's best and what they should and
yep.
shouldn't be supporting? Because you can't expect that your favorite makeup influencer
Mhm.
is spending her free time learning about world issues to have a valid stance on
Right.
them. And because I mean, you said it best, even for us. Like, I look at some things and I'm like, I know what I think I feel about that,
Yeah.
but there might be things I don't know about
Yeah.
it that would completely change my mind. And I mean, didn't Selena Gomez, like, post something and then everybody, like, started tearing her apart for it? And it was like, if she just had maybe either not said that or, like, waited until,
Yeah.
like, more information came out, like, I don't really know what that situation was. I
Yeah,
just
I
know she,
remember
like, got
something like that. I think it was because
bombarded.
she posted, like I think she posted for Israel in the beginning because, like, I don't know, stuff, like, wasn't all out yet, and then people were, like,
Mhm.
really upset at her, and, like, I
Mhm.
understand, I get it, like, you want to feel like the person you're supporting or, like, the person you're buying from has the same stance as you and that you're on the same page and that you know that they're behind
Mhm.
you. It's just, like it's such a hard place, I think, to teeter of, like, that's not what they really signed up for, and maybe they don't have the
Mhm.
knowledge and maybe they feel uncomfortable, like, I feel like I would feel uncomfortable to
For
because
sure.
you're not
I'd
go
be scared.
right, because people get so defensive and, like
Wild.
yeah, like, really angry about these things,
Mhm.
and it's just, like, hard to expect that of celebrities and public figures, like, they're just
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I think if you want to, you can talk about whatever issues you wanna talk about, but if it's also not like I don't know, I'm not, like, expecting any
Like a
person yeah,
standard that they're held
right.
to. Like, I just feel like people look at them and they're like, "You have this platform, you have a huge audience, and because of that, you should use this audience to
Mhm,
spread this message." Like, have you ever looked I don't really see them very often just because I don't usually interact with them, but, like, Michaela, like, the makeup girl, her videos, like, if you go to her comments, it's insane.
mhm,
Like, it is thousands of comments of people telling her, like, "You should be speaking out about Palestine and Israel, like, you shouldn't be making content during this time," and it's like,
mhm,
I get it, but what is Michaela from New Jersey gonna do about it?
right. I just can't
Like,
imagine
what do you
myself
want me
being
to do?
like, "You should be talking about Ukraine," to, like, any public figure I follow, and it's
Mhm.
just like,
Right.
again, it could be the hot topic and people are all talking about it, but do those people actually genuinely care enough? What are they just, like,
No.
talking about it because it's popular and because they think, like, they wanna fit in because everyone else is doing it,
Mhm.
so they think to post about it? Like, it's been 2 years of this Ukrainian war, and, like, my family is all there, and like, people aren't talking about it anymore because it's a hot topic
Mhm.
for 6 months, and then that's it, and, like, the war is still going on 2
Mhm.
years
Yeah,
later,
it's not
but I'm not
over. Like
expecting everyone to be keeping tabs on it because you know what? There's so much going on in this fucking world, like, the if you
Mhm.
literally focus on every single problem and, like, everything that's going on in the world, and I'm not saying ignore every, political or, like, world war, like any situation like that, it's very fucking privileged for us that we get to not think about it all the time or talk about it all the
Yes.
time because that's not my family's reality. They're living in it every day. It's like we have to
Mhm.
understand our privilege 1000% and be like, I don't have to worry about that. But like, I don't expect other people to understand it either. Like, I don't expect you to like be like, you
Right.
should feel the pain and you should understand and you should talk about it. Like, you don't understand and probably never will. I won't. I'm not there. Like, it's just I
Right.
feel so strongly about this because I am in that
Mhm.
situation where, like, I'm here, my family's there, they've been going through this for 2 years, and there's, like, a lot of guilt and there's a lot of, like, "What can I do? What can I say?" There's not much one person and maybe, like, a public figure, yeah, they can, speak
Right.
about it and, like, provide aid or whatever, but it's such a weird line. I'm like, I'm not expecting anybody to be, like,
Mhm.
vocalizing every single problem or, like, every update or every world war,
Right.
like, every like, I don't know, there's just so many issues in the world that we just can't, like,
Mhm.
constantly
And
only
it's
focus
also
on
hard.
that.
Right, and it's hard too, because like, I'm only looking at this from my perspective who, like I'm a small potato,
Oh,
you know what I mean? I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers that listen to every single thing that I say, but it's also hard because I try to think of, like exactly like you said, we are privileged to
mhm.
not have to really think about this or live in it. It's like, why do you wanna hear the privileged influencer millionaire's opinion about
Right.
something like this? Because you're 100% valid in that. Like, we are privileged that we don't have to think about this.
Mhm.
But it's like when you think about that, the people who you want to be giving their opinion on it probably aren't the right people to be giving their opinion on it
Right.
because we don't have to deal with it and we don't have to worry about it. And that's so
Yeah.
sad. But it's also I think people are always going to be pressured to like give their opinion about things and it's just not the right just because they have the platform doesn't mean that they're I don't want to say deserving of the platform, but maybe shouldn't be in a place to be spreading mass messages like that if they aren't exactly familiar with it,
Yep.
you know? So
Agree.
I just think it's hard, but I mean, your literally family in Ukraine is the perfect example of that. That would be like me being like, Veronica, why don't you post about Ukraine every
Right.
day on your story?
Yeah.
That's just insane
Mhm.
to ask. But it's also, it's such a weird situation because it makes me feel like shit. Like that there isn't anything that we can do. And I don't want people to not talk about these problems.
Yeah.
I just think it's a little absurd when people are pressuring like Alex Earl to talk about fucking Gaza.
Right.
Like,
And it doesn't mean they're not doing
what?
anything either, like, I'm not posting about the money we're sending to my family to, like, help them, like, I'm not posting about that
Right.
stuff, and people could be doing things behind the scenes and just not posting about
Silently.
it
Mhm.
because then if they post about it, it's like, "Oh, you're just posting about it because you want, like, the credit that you're donating money and, like,
Exactly.
congrats, oh, you have all this money." And, like, it's just always going to be turned into a negative, sadly. So, yeah,
Yes.
that's how I look at it. So I completely yeah, I agree. Post what you wanna post, feel how you wanna feel. Freedom of
Mhm.
speech,
And if you wanna
obviously.
speak out about something, speak out about
Yeah,
it, because, like we said, you'll find the people that agree with you, and you will find the people that disagree with you,
correct.
and that's just what happens when you talk about stuff like that.
Mhm,
Do we wanna
exactly.
finish up our main one and then go into DMs?
Yes. Um, well, actually, this was in our DMs too, so we can, like, kinda go into that
Oh,
too.
was it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we got a DM about
Okay, perfect.
so basically there's let me actually just read it so I can accurately give the message. Recently was talking to a student in college for marketing and she wants to be a social media manager. So she was asking me to look over her essay she was needing to write for her class. The essay is asking her how to market this fake brand and it literally says explain tactics you will use to help make your brand go viral through various social media platforms. Like the whole essay prompt was basically saying you have to go viral to see success in marketing for social media for your brand. And I look at her and say, I would maybe write about how marketing your brand on social media so much more than going viral and fight that in this essay because that's insane that it's expected.
Mhm.
Like this is what they're teaching in the marketing class that you have to go viral for your brand to be successful. Need your thoughts on this. So that is crazy that like in college they're
Yeah.
teaching that. Like, I mean, in my marketing class, social media wasn't as big as it was when I was in college, obviously,
No.
but it's just that's crazy, and I wonder if anyone else in college listening, like, have you had this experience with professors for like social media? Or
Mhm.
like, I know a ton of people are now offering courses for social media management and like stuff like that
Mhm.
that we didn't have, but that's crazy.
I did a marketing class where we had to build a brand,
Same.
like, from scratch,
Yeah.
but never, like, I don't think I had even heard the word viral in relation to social media until, like, 5 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we weren't talking about, like, virality
No,
in my marketing
me
classes.
either.
Well, I'm also, like, old as fuck, but we, like, barely had Facebook,
Well,
but
I graduated now, like,
it's
what, 5 years ago? No, 4 years ago? Yeah, I graduated 4 years
20
ago, and I had also a marketing class,
I don't even
but
know what year it is.
literally same. I'm like, "Oh my god, 2020? I graduated 4 years ago? Scary." But,
That's insane.
yeah, that is crazy, but social media wasn't, like, what it is now since I've
Right.
taken those courses, so I don't know, maybe things have changed because social media now is a topic that they have to really cover, because in my marketing classes, it was all
Mhm.
about like the actual business and proposals and like
Mhm.
email campaigns and websites. Like it wasn't as
Yeah.
focused on social media. It was about like the actual marketing aspect, which like social media and marketing go hand in hand, but they're two different roles. Like marketing is
Mhm.
very different than just, social media management. So that's the tough
Mhm.
thing too, I think, is that these courses it's sounding like they're trying to teach social
Mhm.
media, but also, like, what are they teaching about marketing then? Is it all based on just
Right.
social media and going viral? That's crazy.
Right, because when I hear that question, the first thing that comes to my mind is whoever wrote that question clearly doesn't understand what they should be
Right.
teaching.
And it's
Like,
scary.
I don't think once in the blueprint use the word viral. Like, why there's obviously, it's very different, like, what we're teaching in there, but
Yeah.
it's just a
Should we
crazy,
become
unpredictable
professors?
thing.
Should we become
Yeah. Should we start a college
call
class?
oh my god, that would be sick, Lex. Wait, pause. Pause.
A few moments later.
Yeah, I'm so down for
Okay.
that. You know, the crazy part is these marketing professors, which I don't know what it is now, maybe they are younger and maybe they have run brands that are,
Yeah.
on a bigger scale or whatever, but my marketing professor was very old. We learned very old tactics of marketing that I think you would
Mhm.
learn more by just doing some hands-on experience with brands and, like,
Yes.
with small businesses than you would learn in a marketing course, but that's just my opinion on that because, again, like we say, how are you gonna teach something that you're no longer in or that you did 10 years ago? Like, I can't imagine
Mhm.
us teaching social media management 10 years from now, not being social media managers, and
With
still
0
it
experience from
currently.
now until
Like,
then.
how are you going to
Mhm.
teach something when you're not currently in it? That's why I always look this is another hot take,
Right.
these fucking social media management coaches that are teaching you how to be a social media manager, yet they don't have any social media management clients and haven't in years because they're like, "Oh, I'll make more money by coaching, and I don't need to have social media
Mhm.
management clients." Like, most social media managers don't stick to being a social media manager because they see that it's a lot of fucking work, not always consistent.
Mm.
So they turn to which like coaching I don't think is consistent it's way less consistent in my opinion
Yeah.
because you're constantly
Yeah.
needing students, but I just yeah,
It's a
how are
constant
you gonna
turnover.
teach something? Because this wasn't even our main, like, spicy take, but I'm like, "How are you gonna teach something you have no experience in now? Like, you taught it 10 years ago, it's
Mhm.
not relevant anymore, yet you're teaching it, and then these people are going out and trying to apply these tactics, and they're not successful."
Right. Because I mean, even look at like, so like, I think I've told you this. My personal training certificate and my nutrition certificates are still active. And I keep them active because I spent a lot of money and a lot of time getting them. But now it's 2 years for my nutrition. And then my personal trainer one is technically certified for life. But every 2 years, I have to go in and do like a continuing education course that literally takes like 4 hours. But like, if I'm even being held to that standard, like,
Yeah.
outside of this industry, like why are we not being held to the standard that you need to keep your education up
Yeah,
in this industry?
exactly.
I know it's a little less regulated, like
Right.
obviously certificates for trainers and stuff is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But there's just like no standard that we're
Yeah.
being held to in this industry. Like you can just decide.
I agree. We should be held to a standard. And I think if you're going to invest in coaches and mentorships, in downloads, anything, do your research on like, do these people actually have clients? Because for us, being social media managers is first. Like, we're not mentors and coaches first. Like, we're not taking this blueprint full time. Like, this is truly something that we
Mhm.
made out of like wanting to, this entire podcast was built on
Help.
like, yeah, all of these coaches that promise you all this shit and they're not even social media managers anymore. They don't have experience. They do it for 6 months and decide they want to make passive income, so they create a course. It's like so stupid, and we got so tired of it that we wanted to come up with our own raw, real, no BS blueprint. And
Mhm.
it's just like, yeah, I would also not trust us if we weren't social media managers with continued
Right.
education and constantly investing into bettering our services and our businesses and our podcast even, like,
Mhm.
yeah, just definitely do your research on that because it's frustrating, and it's frustrating in colleges too. Like, I don't care if you worked at Nike 20 years ago, it's not what it is now. Like, guarantee
Right.
that marketing team has
Exactly.
grown by like 100 people.
Yeah, you're not doing because even just the platforms and the channels that you're working with now are totally
Yeah.
different. Like I vividly remember one of my marketing classes, like we spent an entire day learning how to create a Facebook group. Like I remember that
Mhm.
being like one of the most exciting days of this class because we just like learned how to go in and make a Facebook group.
Yeah.
But now it's like I get there are still people that like use Facebook groups, but it's like is our Facebook groups the main
Mhm.
like, I can't imagine that they're making a big deal about it in classes now like they were then. Like, it's just totally a different era, a different, like, realm of technology that we're working
Yeah.
with that exactly like you said, I think unless you're actively in it and working in it, it's hard to continue to teach it because it changes so
Mhm.
fast.
Exactly.
These 2 DMs made me laugh because we asked for spicy takes and somebody just responded, "All of it." Like, I feel
Period.
you, girl.
Period.
Yeah, period, queen. I feel you. Can we get the
I
thumbs up
know.
on that? I don't know if
Hi.
it'll work.
They're like, "No, bitch."
Well, we're saying period. I guess our spirit guides are not.
No.
And then I mean, this one was Gabby. I feel like she won't care if we say it's her, but she goes, "I don't care what anyone says. This is hard."
Yeah,
Like, yes.
the shit.
Period.
Period.
It's hard. It's definitely
It's so
not
hard, it's
easy.
mentally draining, and what's that Kardashian sound? It's literally mentally, physically, spiritually exhausting. It is.
Courtney. I just said to somebody yesterday, and we had to have said this before either on here or to each other, but like sometimes my job makes me feel schizophrenic
Mhm.
because I'm like constantly going
Switching.
from,
Yeah. We're
yeah,
literally the
like
movie Split.
switching voice.
"No, it's Patricia."
Yeah, I'm Patricia.
There it
Oh God.
is. Yeah, exactly. I agree. It's
That's
very, very
funny.
hard, and people think it's easy because you see the romanticized life of people traveling the world and
Mhm,
working from anywhere. We've talked about this too before. Like, it's just,
mhm.
and yes, there are amazing parts of it, like any job, but work feels like work, and it is hard, and it is rewarding, and it's
It's a
also
job.
fun, and it's also amazing. You can make a lot of freaking money, and there's just pros and cons to everything. So yeah, agree.
Mhm.
This shit is hard.
For sure. And I think the next one kind of leads into a reason that kind of makes what we do feel so stressful sometimes. So this person said that they kind of feel like they can never take a sick day or they're scared to take a sick day because of how they'll fall behind or they might already be behind and it's hard to want to take that time to
Mhm.
just relax and be sick and like I mean I feel this like deep down to my core.
Yeah.
Like if one thing messes up on my calendar, like it sends me into a
Yeah.
spiral. So I don't know if I have any good advice for this, but I just want you to know you're not alone.
No.
Like, I very much always feel behind on everything.
Yes. Yeah,
Always.
I always, like, try to be, like, a week ahead, but that, like, never happens. Like, I always want to be. I mean, now that I'm coming to you, like, I am gonna be a week ahead, like, and lately, I've been
Yeah.
trying to plan for 3 weeks for all of my clients, but sometimes it's hard. You're not getting
Mhm.
content in time. You're not, like, knowing what's gonna be the new updates or, like, the new trends or whatever you're waiting on, so it's just hard to, like,
Mhm.
have everything be on your time, I think also is another
Mhm.
key, like, with clients. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it is tough when you're, like, taking a sick day. Like, I was just really sick and I felt so behind because but then the nice part is we get to take a sick day and we don't have to, you know, take time off
Call
or,
out of
like,
work.
not get paid for it.
Mhm.
Like, you still get paid even though you take that vacation,
Mhm.
even though you have that sick day. It just definitely sucks when, like, you can't get your work done. So, yeah, there's no, like,
Right.
real it is what it is, you know?
And it's yeah, and I think another thing that makes it so weird too is, like, I always think back to, like, I don't know, either working at Orange Theory or, like, when I was a bartender, like, if you are sick and you don't go to work that day, like, your job still technically gets done, it's just covered by somebody else.
Mhm.
It with what we do, there is nobody to cover I mean, unless you're, like, hiring people, but, like, when we come back from that sick day, everything is waiting for
Yes.
us. Whereas, like, a lot of other jobs, it's not, like, piled up waiting for us. I mean, I know there are a lot of jobs like that where you're the only one that does it, but, like,
Yeah.
my prior experience was in both industries that if I wasn't there, the job still got done. So it's
Right.
that's a crazy, like, transition to take too, is just knowing, like which I think that's where a lot of the pressure comes from because if you do take that day off, like, you are behind.
Mhm.
But pros and cons, you can
Yeah.
take that day off without having to, like, really ask for permission,
Mhm. That's so true, and if you
if
do
that
wanna take
makes
a day
sense.
off, it's like, usually we're working on the weekend or we're working at night, we work a little extra.
Yeah, you have to make up
You gotta
for
make
it.
up for it. You can't just be like, "Oh, I'm
Mhm.
going to lunch today," and then I don't have to do whatever was waiting for me during that time I had to be at lunch, you know? So, I just think a lot of people look at our
Right.
schedule, and I mean, we've talked about this too, like, so many people will text us and be like, "Oh, let's hang out today," and I'm like, "Well, I gotta work," and it's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And it's like, "Well, I also have to work." Even though you work from home, I think that's another hot take. So many people just assume you're always available, and we're not
Yes.
always
Or, like,
available. Or very
flexible.
flexible, like, you
Mhm.
can always just pick up and do whatever you want, and it's like, I also have a calendar, I also have shit to do, but I'm the one that has to
Yeah.
keep myself accountable, and that's really fucking hard.
Right.
Because yeah, I'd rather go to lunch or do whatever, but then that work's still waiting for me, and it's always in the back of your mind. So
Mm. Which I think that's, like, not that I didn't mean to bring this conversation back to, like, why I think people fail necessarily at social media management, but I had this realization the other day because I was, like, just updating my, like, daily to-do list of things that I do for my clients, and I'm, like, sitting there reading all of this stuff, and I was like, "This mundane, tedious list of tasks that I do every single day of my life and have not missed a day of doing it, like, in years
mhm,
is the reason that most people will not see success with this business because it fucking sucks having to get in there and do the stupid little continuous tasks that you just don't feel like doing.
mhm.
Like there are so many days where the literal last thing my brain wants to see is the Instagram app,
Yes.
but I have to.
I don't
Like
wanna
I
post that
literally don't
story
have
today, I don't wanna, like
I don't
yeah,
fucking feel like it
yeah, and
today.
you can't, like, ever check
But we
out.
don't have a Ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you can't just be like,
Yeah.
but that's why again, not that I wanna make it sound like, "Oh, I think this is a huge reason people fail," but I think acknowledging that, like, going into something like this, there is going to be so many things that you just don't feel like doing, and if you don't discipline yourself into doing them and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I can go to lunch today. I can go to the beach today. I can do that." Like, if you are never holding yourself accountable for getting shit done,
Mhm.
you aren't gonna get shit done, and that's, like, a huge reality check in this industry, I think,
Yes.
because you have to be willing to do the shit that you don't feel like doing.
Mhm. There's always gonna be stuff you don't enjoy doing. That's why we hate the phrase, "Do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life." It's like, I love so many
Right.
aspects of our roles, but shit is hard and shit feels like work, and I think it should. Like, there's a like, anything
Shit
you
is repetitive.
monetize, I think becomes your work and your job
A
that you
job.
have to show up for, like we talked about monetizing
Mhm.
before, but yeah, it becomes a job, so no matter how much you love, like, traveling and then you start a blog about it, like, it still becomes a job where you're not just traveling to travel, you're traveling to blog about it and make money off of it. You're not
Mhm.
just creating content anymore, you're creating content for these brands who have deadlines, and you have to do it. It's not that you just get to do it. So, yeah, everything
Mhm.
becomes work unless you're just doing it for the fun of it and not making money off of it. Or it's like
Yes.
whenever you want to make money off of it, you can. That's different.
Mhm.
But yeah, everything becomes work. So just be prepared.
Mhm. Yeah, you gotta treat it like a job.
Yes. And our last one
A
is,
job.
which totally agree with this, social media managers that offer videography, but it's bad quality. And so many people just think that they have to do that or offer content creation, but then it's not even good.
I have
Honestly,
something to say to this. Just because you turn cinematic mode on your iPhone doesn't make your video look good. And half of the time, you need to go in and readjust if it's the subject or the background blurring because it looks like shit. And also, just gonna call a spade a spade. I think the iPhone cinematic mode looks like shit half
I
the time
hate
because
it.
of how blurry it makes the
Everything.
edges of your subject. Cinematic mode on your iPhone is not a professional camera. I
There
still
is
use it. Like
portrait
I like
mode.
that it has its neither is portrait mode. Portrait mode does not make you a photographer.
Literally.
But it's, like, true I mean, I even, like, kind of fell victim to this too, like, a
I
few years
know.
ago, I was like, "Oh, if I buy a good camera,
Yeah,
it'll just give me good video content,"
same.
not realizing, like, you gotta learn the fucking
Dude,
camera.
yeah.
Like, you don't just, like, open your phone so that's the only reason I say that
My
because I
camera's
know that
still
they're good
sitting in the
alternatives
drawer
when you yeah,
because I
yeah,
never
sa
learned.
my fucking 2 Sonys sitting behind
Oh,
me.
God.
I just had this conversation with the photographer at Core 4 yesterday because they get photographers for the events
Yeah.
because of the lights in there. And I said to him, I was like, "I love what you do." And he was like, "I love what you do." And I was like, "I just think there's like I don't look at the photographer coming into the shoot that I'm at as like, well, why don't they want my
Right.
pictures?" Like I have
You
acknowledged
acknowledged.
that the
Yeah.
lighting in that room is above my my skill
Mhm.
level. So I never look at it like that, but sorry, I know that just, like, completely detoured the
No,
whole
that's
purpose
so
of
true. It's so
what
true.
we were saying.
Like, I got a camera and it only looked good with one of my clients because of the lighting that was in her space, like, they came out really,
Mhm.
really good, but I didn't know shit about settings, but, like, you think you're, like, a photographer now that you just got a camera, and it's like, I also
Mhm.
think that just depletes what a photographer does, like, that
Yes.
is so much work, so much
I'm like, "What's a
education.
shutter speed?"
Literally,
I'm
I
like,
don't know anything, but
"What's function?
so
What's
I wanna
white
yeah, I wanna
balance?"
say this too is, like, technically, social media managers don't offer content shoots and content
Mhm.
creation, like, that's really not technically under our role. If you want to offer that, you have to make it known that you're gonna be using your iPhone, but
Mhm.
exactly, you're not a
Yes.
videographer, you're not offering videography, you're offering content shoots with an iPhone, like iPhone content shoots.
Well, and that's not I don't wanna say it, like, in the way where I think that's a bad thing, like, I think if you're open and honest about, like, because I just, like imagine somebody being like, "Do you wanna come photograph my wedding?" And then they show up with an
Right.
iPhone. Like, not that your wedding and a content shoot are comparable, but I do think it's okay if you're, like, honest about it, and that's not to say again, I do think it comes down more to knowing how to, like, operate the technology than, like, the the like newest iPhone model. Like I think somebody with an iPhone 5 could
Right.
take a better video that knows what they're doing with settings than somebody with an iPhone like
Yes.
13 or whatever it's on. So it's not like you can't be good at just using your iPhone. Like they have made literal entire documentaries on just an
Mhm.
iPhone. It's not impossible, but I think it's very ballsy to call yourself a
Yeah.
videographer when you're just showing up with an iPhone,
Correct. Yeah,
for
you
sure.
can't. You can't. And it's continued education, and if that's something you want to learn, like, maybe look for a photographer or videographer that offers courses on it and actually learning because it's
Mhm.
going to take you a long time. It's like any skill that you have to learn. Can you absolutely learn it? Yes, but it's
Mhm.
going to take time and energy and an investment. But I wanted to bring this up to you because we got a DM from somebody who bought the social media management blueprint. And first, I want to preface with saying that we have never said that content shoots or websites or like building that stuff are included in the blueprint because, again, that's continued education that if you want to take it from, okay, you're a social media manager now, what other skills do you want to offer your clients, like content shoots, like websites, like SEO, um, like newsletters, social like text messages, things like that are all continued
Mhm.
education that isn't really technically included in the initial social media manager bundle of what you're learning to do. So we just received a message from the blueprint. I want to be like transparent and open about it that she basically said, obviously not going to say the name, but that there was a lot of things that weren't included for her that she was really looking for. So, we asked, like, we would love to know what questions you had, or like we can understand where you're coming from and maybe add it to the blueprint because for us, we've covered every single thing from point A to point Z, and everyone that's purchased the blueprint has told us that as well.
Yeah, like,
So,
this really threw us
really
off.
threw us
Like,
off.
I was like, "What did we miss?"
Yes.
Like, there's no way we missed
Which
something.
feedback is great, like, we want that. So, if you feel anything is missing or if you have any questions, like, we always say our DMs are open to ask anything. So, we didn't hear from this person about any questions they had or any doubts, so this was us checking in and asking how everything was going and getting that response.
Yes, I think it's, like, very important to note that we reached out in this
Yes.
situation. Like, we initiated the
Right.
conversation, which
So
made it so much stranger, but
yeah,
anyways.
so basically she was struggling with content shoots. So and she said, example, how to coordinate it, whether there should be props, model scouting, and also confused on how to do SEO as a social media manager for clients. That's all I can think of. I know there's more, but I can't think of right now. So, okay, so this is how we responded. And we just said, it's great to have feedback. We apologize for any confusion regarding the content. And I said, you're absolutely right that content shoots and SEO are not a part of the blueprint. And we completely understand your interest in diving deeper into these areas. However, we want to clarify our blueprint focuses on specifically providing a foundation for launching your social media management business and workflows with clients. Content shoots involve different aspects like professional photography, influencer management, creative direction, and require a lot of hands on experience to be able to offer to clients. Similarly, SEO is a complex field that social media managers don't often offer and takes a lot of education to learn. While we aim to give everyone the skills needed to succeed in this industry, we also acknowledge and hope others do too that certain skills like content shoots, SEO, website building involve continued education and hands on experience beyond the scope of our initial offering. And then, we said if there's any confusion we can clear up, please let us know. We're here to support you. Definitely appreciate the feedback for the future of developing maybe something for continued education. But again, I don't feel comfortable doing continued education when I don't even offer content shoots. I don't do model scouting. I don't do, the
Mhm.
setup of influencers and getting them all to one space and setting up these content shoots. Like, this is way
Mhm.
beyond the scope of what you initially need to start your social media management business. So we just want to like clarify that and make that known that it's not like, we're saying you're going to be learning about SEO and websites, and that is
Yeah,
a
no.
whole other beast that people specialize specifically in SEO, that you as a social media manager,
Mhm.
if your client is asking for that, you need to ask them to speak to an SEO specialist. That is a whole different
Yeah.
role. Just wanna
And I think I've even said too, like, I am the queen of being like, "Yeah, I can do that. That's not a problem. Like, I'll just do that quick." And,
Mhm.
like, I have gotten way better over the last few months, specifically of telling certain clients, like, we're gonna have to ask an expert for that.
Right.
Like, we're gonna have to like, Facebook
Like
ads, for
ads,
example,
yeah,
was one that
we
we were like
didn't talk about ads in the blueprint because that's not what a
mhm,
social media manager does.
right, and that's, like, again, just, like, in the spirit of, transparency, I do the ads for one of my clients,
Yeah.
and it's not something that I, like, offer. It just kind of came about, and it was one of those things like, "Oh, do you know how to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but, like, I think there's people that keep up with it more than I
That'll
do." Like,
specialize in
I
it.
haven't been Yes, like, I haven't been, well-versed in the world of Facebook in, like, 5 years, but I know how to get the ads set up, and I know what makes a good ad, so
Mhm.
it hasn't been, like, bad with having me do it, but now that they're expanding and we have different offers, like, it's just impossible for me to know what is best
Yes.
in this ads, and I finally was like, "I have to give this over to somebody else," and that even, like, hurts like, nothing makes me more upset than admitting that I can't do something, but I will be the first person to admit that.
Right.
Like, I'll be the first person to be like, "I don't know what that is or how to do that, and somebody else needs to do it."
Yeah, and that's something we
It just
talk
hurts my
about
type
in the blueprint. Like, you need to, especially when building your packages and figuring out your services, you need to focus and hone in on what you are good at and what you feel comfortable providing. Because when we first started, we were,
Mhm.
like, saying yes to a lot of things. Like, I was doing websites. I was
Emails,
doing
texts,
yes,
whatever.
all of it. Like, I
Mhm.
was stretching myself so thin, and then I felt like I couldn't commit to being good at something, and it makes you have, like, imposter syndrome because 'cause you're like, "Well, I thought I would offer this," and then you're doing 100 things, and you're like, "Well, I'm half-assing, like, everything because 'cause I'm trying to make up for, like, being that one-stop shop, that agency type, like, where," and that's when you look at agencies,
Mhm.
they have a person for every single thing, so what makes you think you
Yeah,
as one person can do it all? Which,
are
not
gonna
saying you
do
can't.
everything.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't. You totally can, but it's like when you look at a social media agency, it's like there is an ad specialist, there is a graphic designer, there is a videographer,
Mhm.
photographer, there is that person that's doing just, like, the communicating with the clients, like, every single role has their people and what they're good at. So when we received that DM, I think, yeah, it threw us off a little bit because, this blueprint has every single workflow you need, everything you need to start your social media management business, even working with clients,
Mhm.
all of it is included. But content shoots and SEO and websites and videography and ads, like, that is all continued education that we don't
Mhm.
expect any new social media manager to learn when they're just first starting. Like,
Mhm.
that would be so overwhelming if we're like, "You need to learn ads, you need to learn content, you need to learn," like, that's a
Yes.
lot, and you don't.
And that's why, like, I think we did really good at narrowing down what's in the blueprint as necessity, and
Yes.
anything outside of that is optional. Like, there is nothing that you are missing in the blueprint to start your business, but when you're first starting, you might not be scheduling a content shoot.
Right,
So there's no reason for us to walk you through our entire 2 or 3 hour long content shoot
right.
process when it's not something that you need to know right away. And we've also said, one, we are always open to feedback. Like, if you or like if you're thinking about it, or if you are in the blueprint and there's something that you feel is missing, it's not that we are not open to hearing that. We also are open to even continuing to add to
Yeah,
this, like, as we go.
1,000%.
That's why we wanted to keep, like, the questions opened, why, the DMs Unfiltered segment on here is kind of helping us realize, like, what should we work on to add in the blueprint or to do next. And yeah, just 100% agree with you. We also at no point said any of those things were covered.
No.
So
Because there
it
is
was
that
just, it
list,
came
like, when you guys
Mhm.
click download, there's an entire list of each day and what it covers, and yeah, content shoots, SEO, like, none of that was included in the list, so purchase at your own risk,
Mhm.
but
And this is
always open to
Yes, and this is,
feedback.
like, no shade to the girl
No,
that
not at
sent this
all.
message, like, this is not us, like, we are, like, one, we just wanna be transparent
Yeah.
and be like, "Look, like, we got called out,
Yeah.
like, we will explain
Oh,
to you
yeah.
why we got called out," but it's also something that we just wanted to use to let people know, like, we are always open, like, if there's something you want us to talk about, put in the blueprint, work on, like, we are open to hearing that.
Mm.
Again, I just don't want it to sound like we're coming on here and, like, bashing this person
Oh,
on our
no.
podcast for asking that question, but it was a really good, I think, learning experience for us to kind of, too,
Mhm.
just be like, "Okay, like, these are some things that I think people would be interested like in furthering their education about, but definitely not stuff that would be included in the blueprint. So as always, our DMs are open if you have any questions about that, and we are always open to feedback. We have the longest episode we've done in a long time today. So I'm going to slowly start to wrap us up.
I know.
An accident. We've been on the phone for 3.5 hours at this point. We're
that.
so funny. But yeah, we, as always, let us know your spicy takes. Let us know what you want to see in the blueprint. Let us know what you want to see from us. And other than that, you can find us on Instagram. Everything we talked about is in the show notes. Make sure you leave us a nice little review on Apple or Spotify or YouTube, wherever you watch us. And we will talk to you next week.
Yes, I love you guys. Bye. Thanks for hanging. If you aren't sick of us yet, jump over to the Socially Unfiltered Pod Instagram.
Check out the Social Media Manager Blueprint.
And everything else you'll need can be found in the show notes.
And we'll see you next Monday.